Hi, and welcome to another episode of Joyful Balance, the podcast with me, Denise.
Hi, I'm Meera.
And today we have the pleasure of hearing all the things we want to hear about Meera. So, on this particular episode, I am going to interview my lovely co host and hopefully shed more light on who she is and what that she do and why she's here. Not on this planet, but as in why she's here on the podcast with me.
Oh my God, answers on a postcard for that. Gosh.
Yes, I think metaphysical and philosophical conversations will be had, but later. Okay. So,
I was going to say we'll get
there. Thank you, Meera, for agreeing to be interviewed. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, no, doing well. I'm enjoying a quiet Sunday, or are we allowed to say that it's Sunday? We'll say that it's Sunday. I'm enjoying a quiet time period to myself, which is always great. I've got a coffee. I'm ready to go. I'm relaxed.
Good.
How about you? How are you doing?
I'm good. And yeah, life is good at the moment.
Good.
Yeah, let's stay with that particular.
Okay.
So my first question to you is, of course, because I'm a curious cat, but I want to know what attracted you to neuroscience. How did you get there? As in, was it always a dream? Or?
Do you know what? I wouldn't say it was always a dream. I've been interested in the mind for a very long time. So if we really want to go back, I originally wanted to study medicine. Like, it was kind of a dream to be a doctor. I mean, I'm Asian, so that's classic. But no, I genuinely did want to do that, and that didn't kind of pan out. And the one thing that I discovered a love for was for psychology when I was doing my A levels, and pursued it at university. Really enjoyed the degree. And wasn't all what I wanted to do afterwards. What millennials do when they don't know what they want to do with the rest of their career is they keep studying. And so when I was graduating from psychology, I was kind of looking at other courses. And I think in my third year of my undergraduate, I did some pockets of neuroscience and ended up doing a clinical neuroscience master's in a London university. And so glad I did it, actually, because one, it was really, really tough. But two, I got to study alongside medical students who took it up as an extra degree or they were already qualified, trying to get into neurosurgery, for example, and just really loved it. And like I said in a previous podcast episode, as soon as you say you've done neuroscience, like, it massively increases what everyone thinks your IQ actually is, which is worth doing. It was worth the year of pain of doing the masters just for the street cred alone. But no, it was genuinely a very, very interesting masters, and I absolutely loved it. I probably in some ways enjoyed it more than my undergrad. And yes, that's kind of what made me want to pursue it.
And how did you get yourself specialized in nutrition for the brain? Because that comes after neuroscience.
Comes
right?
way later. Yeah. So as one does when they finish undergraduate in psychology and masters in neuroscience, I actually went into the financial services sector. So I joined a fancy grad scheme, but actually what I did for that company was very much based on me being able to understand scientific research and translate that into financial products, essentially, without going too much into the weeds. And then I actually moved abroad for a little while, but that's when the cards came crashing down. So I basically was already diagnosed with anxiety and depression before I left to move abroad, and took myself abroad thinking that would fix some of the problems that I felt I had, and did something really naughty, which I would highly advise you not to do. Anyone who's listening to this podcast who it's relevant to, is don't come off your antidepressants really suddenly, because that's what I did. And I ended up in a really bad place. I had to come home in an emergency and get myself restabilized on medication, which is something we can cover the details of that story maybe another time. But so anyway, on this journey of kind of getting myself better again, I was at home, I was off work, I couldn't do anything apart from basically wake up and go to sleep. Is I had a family, an aunt of mine who had studied nutrition and had really gotten into it through some personal experiences that she had been through. And she saw me at home have, in fact, in this very room that I am in right now. So I had this big old panic attack and I felt terrible. And she came back to my house the very next day and she said, okay, I really think we need to change your diet because I think that's going to make a massive difference to your mental well-being. And I thought, don't care, never been interested in eating healthily, like never, ever, ever. Really liked sugar way too much and just not interested. So I wasn't quite ready at that point in time, but about 4 weeks later, I thought, okay, I'm ready to give this a go. And I got back in touch with her and started implementing really slowly these changes, tried to just have a bit of a healthier breakfast, made one change that led into two. Then I started researching in my spare time, doing on free online courses to just educate myself on really what the basics were. What are carbohydrates, fats, proteins?
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. Anyway, so this then led to it becoming a bit of a hobby horse of, I'll go away and go and work in a health food store just to get myself back into work. Then it became, let me start the course because I'm really interested in this. I found my recovery, although like we said in the last episode, like, your recovery can kind of, your recovery will go like this. I found that mine went like that. So it was still going up and down, but it was going up. And it became so much more linear and I just slowly got better and better. I was able to work more and more. And I just got better. I got much better. And, obviously I'm still working on myself and I still have to take care of myself. I still take medications. I still go to therapy. But in terms of like where I am compared to then to where I am now is two completely different people. So it became me just wanting to help people that were in my situation and more widely too, like get themselves out of that, that's what made me want to do this.
Yeah. Because that links quite nicely into my next question. What does it mean to eat for your brain?
Yeah,
I know it's a very potentially it's a whole subject in itself, and I'm sure there are a lot of nuggets of knowledge in there that you can share with us. If we just maybe into some sort of a summarized version, what would you say?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think when it comes to eating for your brain, it's what is true for eating for your brain is basically true for everything else in your body, right? Like it's about having a diet that's rich obviously in fruits and vegetables, in fresh fruits and vegetables if you can. Although obviously we can go into more the in depths of like what food that you can buy pre-prepared is still healthy, but it's basically about having lots of produce in your diet. It's about limiting, but not necessarily having to completely get rid of other food groups, but in terms of like limiting the amount of dairy that you're having some red meat but just limited amounts. It's about having a lot of omega-3s and oily fish, because they're super important for your brain, and making sure that you're having loads and loads of water. So it sounds really difficult it's really difficult to underpin, but what's true for the brain is actually true for the rest of the body. And what research has really found is that the Mediterranean diet pattern seems to be the one that they have studied thus far. It's not necessarily the best in the world, but it's been the most studied so far that has shown benefits on preventing Alzheimer's and reducing anxiety and depression. So it's and if you look at what the Mediterranean diet pattern is, it's making sure water is your main source of hydration. It's having whole grain carbohydrates, fruits and veg, limited red meat, limited dairy, and nuts and seeds and oily fish, and some poultry. It's kind of it in a nutshell.
And I would say a lot of seafood.
Absolutely, a lot of seafood.
I mean, I'm the number one fan of octopus. In the sense of
yum.
in the ocean and also on my plate, I know they're very intelligent creatures.
That's true.
And yeah, I don't want to go into the debate of whether it is ethical or moral to eat things that are alive, but
yeah,
I do eat octopus, and yeah, I'm not sorry about that at the moment.
No, that's fine. Like I have been a pescatarian for a number of years. That was a personal choice I made when I was 14. But that's not to say that I don't think that I try and really listen to my body now, and I feel like my body at the moment is telling me having some poultry in my diet would be a good thing. So I'm kind of like personally working on like I live in a house with other vegetarians, so it's a bit more complicated, and I'm Asian by descent as well. But that's fine. Like that's by the by. But anyway, my point is like I'm trying to listen to my body these days and like think what is my body wanting me? What do I want to have? And trying to strip the guilt away from that. And I really think about it in terms of because of the personal journey that I've been through and understanding the science much, much more. I'm trying to think a lot more about what does it make sense to put in my body? Like, what does my body actually need? What does my brain need?
Yeah.
And trying to really think about it like that and then not worry about the guilt side of it at all from any perspective. Which is why, so it's never a short answer to answer the question of what is good for the brain. Like it's as long as any other answer I have because I spend so much time reading the research around it. Apologies for like waffling on probably way more for that question.
No. It's very much appreciated. The only thing I wanted to add onto your answer, and not because I'm trying to steal anything from your answer, is just that from a research point of view, if you look at the zones around the world where people live predominantly over 100 years old, you would find them in the Mediterranean area. You would find the island in Italy and also one in Greece. I can't remember for the life of me.
What's that island in Italy called?
I can't remember either of their names. I know,
yeah.
If you're really curious, just Google or Bing, whatever is your search engine, blue zones.
Blue zones,
You will find them. There are three major ones in the Mediterranean area. And one of the key things besides nutrition that they all share is the sense of community and belonging.
Yeah,
that opens a whole other chapter, but that's the only thing that I wanted to add on to it, is that you can see it, you can go and see it. People live a much longer period of time, and sometimes when you say people live over 100, you imagine them being very sick, very crippled. These people are still going to enjoy their coffee up a hill every morning. So that kind of life over 100 versus, God forbid, the ones who are very, very sick.
Yeah, exactly. And like what I would add is like also another blue zone is in Japan as well. So
yes,
I think there's always a caveat around that I always put around the Mediterranean diet. It's like, yes, predominantly and that's where a lot of the research started. So if we pedal back a little bit in this introduction on blue zones, it's like there was a researcher who wanted to understand kind of what makes people in blue zone areas live so long and live such healthy lives, and diet was definitely one part, as was the communal aspect, and obviously also living, I think, quite active lives in general. But then the researchers, I think, wanted to understand what in that diet makes it so healthy, and how can you apply that diet to disease prevention, and particularly, the burden of diseases. If you think about like the financial, the burden in terms of what it means for you as an individual who's suffering from those diseases, particularly from like long lasting illnesses, it's huge. So we are living longer lives elsewhere in the world, but we're living longer, unhealthier lives. So what the blue zones like studies around them were help to open the questions of how can we prevent or quote unquote treat some chronic diseases with diets, and that's why they've used a lot of the Mediterranean dietary patterns. But given that there's also a blue zone in Japan, I just want to caveat that and say it's not necessarily just the Mediterranean diet that's particularly healthy. There are other diets as well. It's just that they're possibly not as well studied. But the Mediterranean diet and the way that they eat, which is what Denise was alluding to in that element of community, is massively, massively important. And it's a fantastic starting point for when you're eating for your brain and for your overall, for your mental well-being and for your physical well-being, for sure.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, they are interlinked. So
yeah,
we are, as you said, we are eating well for the brain, but we are also eating well for the rest of us. I mean, it's not like the brain is just
floating by itself.
Exactly, just here above the head. And for those of you listening, I'm mimicking some sort of cloud above my head or above my neck, I should say. And then the rest of us lives an independent life. It's like everything is connected. So if the brain is one happy bunny, then the rest of us will also be happier, in the sense
totally.
organs and things. If you think about this, so if you think about nutrition and if you think about eating right for your brain health and for the journey that you've described for us, that you've been on, what would you say were your top 3 learnings from all of this? What was maybe about yourself? So learnings about yourself, what would you say they were maybe unusual or maybe you didn't expect them?
That's a really good question. I suppose what I learned was I'm in control more than I thought I was. Like one of the biggest things I think I've learned, like in this process of getting well again, like, and that's diet. What therapy has taught me is how much more autonomy and control I have than I think I do. So like, you might feel like a lot of things are out of your control. Like you can't control what happens at home or what happens at work or what happens in your day, some aspects of your daily life. And that can be true, right? But what you can control are things like, the micro moments of self-care that you can take for yourself. So even if you have a very busy life, you may have children or you may have other dependents that rely on you or whatever, like you might still just find 5 minutes in the day where you're like, do you know what? I'll make some nice avocado on toast, or like I'll make an omelette or whatever it is, or I'll meditate for 5 minutes. And it's just that element of autonomy and control that you have to actually benefit your life and make you feel better. So I would say that's number 1. Yeah. Another learning that I think I took away was, it's just going to sound really weird, but eating healthily can be enjoyable. Like it doesn't have to be really restrictive. Like the one thing that I really practice is and maybe I can see that you're like getting fired up about this, which is really exciting. So am I. But like I always say to my clients, I'm never about what you have to exclude. I'm always about including, and by nature of including, you exclude more of the stuff that doesn't benefit you as much, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah,
I think
so
you need to say that last sentence again.
Okay, so it's not about what you exclude, it's about what you include. That's really important, right? And by including lots of really healthy, beneficial stuff, you naturally there's less space for the unhealthy stuff. It's still there, but there's just less space for it. And as a result, you're gaining more benefit. You're sort of gaining that balance a lot better just naturally. So I think healthy eating doesn't have to be restrictive. It can be really enjoyable. And this is coming from someone who really didn't care about food, who loved McDonald's, who would eat all the fast food and not think about like fruits and vegetables and whatever. Like I just wasn't that interested. And I found a genuine love for healthy eating because I felt so much better in myself, and actually I found that healthy eating doesn't have to be boring. It can be really exciting in terms of like, I don't know, Korean fried like rice with kimchi, or it can be like a really interesting, you can make a pasta sauce that's just with all greens, or like there's just so much you can do and enjoy that it doesn't have to feel like a diet at all. So I'd say that was the second learning. And then the third learning was, it may feel like it's too late to start, but it never is. Like, never. You know, I it's funny, my psychologist says this, she said this to me before, like she said many people go through like life crises in like in typically it's midlife. She goes, you just had yours early because I became unwell when I was in my mid 20s. And I'm now 30, 32. So yeah, I'm about like 7 years post crisis in some respects, although I still have micro crises all the time. Um, but it's never too late to start. So you may feel like, oh God, I should have been doing this years ago. And maybe, but you know what? Even if you start now, it's still going to be good. It's still going to be beneficial. It's still going to make you feel better. So it's never too late to start. Yeah, that would probably be my third takeaway.
That is, yeah, all of them are very powerful, but I think the starting point is the one that I think a lot of people resonate with, because you have this idea of, oh my God, I should have done it when I was X, Y, or Z in terms of, I don't know, age or life moment, or you can start now. Just
start.
Yeah, just go today.
Yeah.
Grab an avocado and see what happens. Honestly.
Absolutely. Honestly,
it doesn't have to be an avocado. It can be a pear or a tomato, whatever it is. It's just you can start now. Just don't have to do anything special or ritual like, or I will start from Monday, or none of that. You can just do it now.
And you know what, like what I always say as well is and maybe Denise, you probably, I would imagine, do something quite similar in your practice, is like it's never like what we also really have to get away from is this all or nothing mindset of like of like you know, I've got to be perfect and like nail this like brain amazing routine of like getting up at 6, bloody coconut oil pulling, and like having a smoothie, and then I've got to get in a workout, and then I've got to do this, and I've got to nail these things every single day, and putting all that pressure on yourself, having this all or nothing mindset, when actually I find the easiest way for people to make change and to sustain change is to focus on one thing, nail it. Once you're confident, then change the next thing. So it's not about overhauling your life in one go. Like, these things take time. It took me time. I started off personally, and you know, this is a real cliche, is I started having a protein heavy smoothie. And I did that in the morning. Then I did one tiny change. Instead of having, I still had my toast alongside my smoothie, but I changed to a lower glycemic load toast. And we can talk about glycemic load in another episode, but basically a higher fiber toast, for example. And then I started using almond butter. And almond butter was the ingredient that I talk about that blew my mind, in terms of, I absolutely love almond butter. I love almond butter so much. I have an almond tattooed on my wrist as a reminder of how far I've come. And like,
fun fact, never had it. I have no idea how it tastes like.
What?
You have to introduce me to it. I have no idea.
What is going on?
I tried peanut butter. I don't like it.
Okay.
Never done almond.
Almond butter. I didn't like peanut butter when I first started eating health, or even before eating healthier. I was just not into it. But almond butter for me was like the gateway drug to healthy eating. I don't know what it is, but I just absolutely love it.
I have to try it.
Okay,
I really have to try it.
You do.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I derailed your thoughts there for a second.
No, you're absolutely fine. I just, that's just blown my mind. Anyway, where was I? Anyway, so yeah, I did all these incremental changes. Like, even when I was starting out, like, I had to go small, because otherwise anything bigger than that was so overwhelming for my poor, anxious brain. And even now, like, you know, I will go through challenges where like I'm less on top of my self-care game than I am at other points in time. So it's like, instead of being like, oh my God, I've got to set up this like really amazing routine where I'm like nailing it and like doing all these things, I'm like, no, you're already overwhelmed. Don't do that. Do one thing every day. Just try and just do one thing. Focus on one aspect of self-care. Is that going for a walk? Is that doing your meditation? Is that trying to, instead of like going for a fast, quick option, something that you spend 5 extra minutes preparing, that's even healthier? Do something like that. It doesn't have to be these huge ticket items that are that make that overwhelm you and then therefore paralyze you because you just think you're going to fail.
Absolutely. It's one of the key things to understand. When in psychology we call them thought distortions, the all or nothing. It's a thought distortion, i.e. it's not the right way to think about things. Life is not black or white. It's a variety of shades of gray, I would like to say.
Absolutely.
So all of nothing of, oh, I had such a good diet from Monday to Friday, and then on Saturday, Sunday, I just splurge and I don't count my calories anymore. That is a sign of all or nothing thinking, and it doesn't really help you in the long run because it makes you think of food either good or bad. And we can discuss this in a later episode, but in my point of view, food is neither good nor bad. Food just is. Whatever connotation you give it, that's what it will be for you.
Yeah.
Obviously, some food is providing nutrients and is going to keep you full for longer, and it will make your brain cells just jump for joy, while other food groups will just be like empty calories, and your brain will be like, yeah, you fed me this, but I'm still hungry. Where are my nutrients?
It's very true.
Anyway, coming back to my questions for you, I have a couple more, if I may.
Sure. Absolutely.
How do you approach sessions with a new client?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I think like the first and foremost is to really understand what are they wanting to achieve and why. I think is firstly really important to understand. And a big part of nutritional therapy is understanding your client's life story. So, we really dig into what happened at some points, sometimes even prenatally, all the way up to where they are now in terms of what medical procedures have they had, medicines have they taken, what symptoms have they had and when, like physical or mental. And we basically start to draw a timeline and start to connect the dots between, okay, well, they had, they went on holiday to South America and they got sick from this tummy bug, and therefore their digestion ever since has never been that great. So you start to pick out these like correlations and things, and you start to pick out patterns and things like that. What we also do is we really literally go from head to toe to understand what the kind of physical and mental symptoms that you're experiencing. And in understanding but what's going on in your whole body, and then also overlaying that with your routines and your daily habits, like what are the typical things that you eat, what is your sleep pattern like, what is your lifestyle like. So we start to put all that together to really understand the person, and that's actually the majority of the first session, is understanding you as the client. And then we'll give you a baseline of what our understanding or my understanding is of what might be going on for that person. So maybe we notice that they're having a lot of digestive symptoms, as well as like problems with maybe like brain fog or whatever. And then we can kind of say, okay, well, we think that actually addressing your gut could be important. And then we'll start to think about, okay, maybe we want to do some testing, or maybe we want to go in straight with some dietary changes and adaptations. And then it's a case of just monitoring and refining as you go along. So really, like, the first thing is really understanding your client's story. It's understanding what they want to achieve. And it's starting to put in those base changes that you would almost recommend to anyone, but we do a very highly personalized approach, but then monitoring that and refining that as further consultations go along.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with that approach, to be honest. I have a question. The geek in me wants to know if this is true or myth. I think you've already addressed it in a previous presentation for the heart.
Okay.
The heart. Is it true that we only use a percentage of our brain?
No. What a waste it would be if we didn't. So I think for a long time, and I don't know where this is this flew around, but or why this became a thing. But I think there was this myth that we would only use a certain percentage of our brain, and it was something ridiculous like 10%.
Yes.
That's not true. Like
there is a film about that as well. There is this
oh really?
in a film, I can't remember, I think it's with Bruce Willis or something. Anyways, either in the 90s or the early 2000s, where this woman gets injected or poisoned with something, and then she's hyper utilizing all of her brain.
Interesting.
And makes her think and hear and do, and she's like a superwoman because of that.
Oh wow. Oh, interesting. Well, Bruce Willis aside, it's not true. It's a myth. I mean, like, you use different parts of your brain for different things. So like, it's actually the back of your head, for example, the occipital lobe, which is used for sight. You use the front part of your brain as more where your personality is seated, where you make rational decisions. In the middle of the brain is where your memory and your emotions are processed. You use the base of your brain to control the basic apparatus of breathing and maintaining life.
Yes.
Yeah, essentially
being alive.
being alive. And then there's loads of other, you've got parts that control like your speech and all different parts. So like, it's not true, basically.
Okay. Because I think there was a lot of misconception, and a lot of people thought, oh, if only I can use my brain more, then
yeah,
I'll be omnipotent or something.
Totally. But like, I think the important thing is, how can you use your brain better? I think that's the trick to kind of think about. And it's like, well, how can I, for example, use social interactions or use puzzles? How can I amp up my diet? How can I, is it that my sleep that needs to be improved? And all these will help you use your brain better. But there's no such thing as only using 10% of your brain.
Sorry, guys.
No.
We're not going to get way special, or
we're not going to develop Bruce Willis superpowers, unfortunately.
It wasn't him, it was the lady.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm going to have to find out what film this is.
As I was talking about it, I think the lady that in question, the actress, I think is Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, okay. So it can't have been that old then.
That she becomes this special woman that can do anything and everything, and she fights well and she thinks well. And
it's not Wonder Woman, is it?
No.
Is she in Wonder? No, I don't know. We're probably going to get someone who's like screaming out the answer, but
yeah. Well,
write in and tell me.
Yes, put us out of our misery. Yeah. Just comment and let us know which one's the movie. And if I got the actors completely wrong, I'm sorry. It was a spur of the moment. Yeah, so we've talked about you and your journey and how you've become, who you are today from a professional point of view. But who is Meera outside of nutrition and outside of being a neuroscientist?
Meera is
very simple. Let me say, something better came to mind.
Okay, go on.
You can tell this is really not scripted, guys. I normally ask my clients to introduce themselves in 5 sentences without using their name, their profession, their relationships, or their age. So, for example, you can't say, hi, I'm Meera, I'm 30, whatever, I'm a neuroscientist, and I have 3 children. None of that. So you have to present yourself, if you would like, it's an experiment, without saying those commonly, used aspects of you.
Okay.
You started very well. You said you are simple.
I am, but can I use the word I?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great, great.
You are.
Okay.
You are happy.
Yeah, I am very cerebral, so I love to think and to contemplate and to problem solve and all those things. So I would say I'm quite cerebral. I can be silly, however, so I enjoy having a laugh and making people laugh and occasionally having some sharp wit. I'm very caring, so I care a lot about the people around me. Uh, and I love the simple things like
Mm.
reading and nice. Well, I say this is going to sound really bougie, but because I can be bougie, but like I love good coffee and
Oh, yes.
just I'm finding appreciation. Like seriously, like I'm trying to find appreciation for the small things in life because they are actually really, really important. Um, so yeah, and I don't require much like apart from good company.
Mm. So you're basically a plant.
More or less, yeah.
You
Just water me, give me some nourishment. I'm good to go. Like I'll just shine. Yeah, yeah,
it just
yeah.
reminds me of that thing flying around on social media where I'm literally just a plant with higher standards. Just water me, give me love, put me in the sunlight, and I'm a happy bunny.
Happy.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah.
yeah. I'm not like yeah. I I think I'm just very. I try to be very easygoing and adaptable. It's learning. It's a work in progress, and I'm absolutely a work in progress. And I'm happy to be that because I love learning. So yeah, that was probably more than 5 sentences, but
Well,
there you go.
I'm never unhappy with more sentences. I think from my practice's point of view, I'm quite happy to come across with people who have more than 5 sentences. More often than not, it's less. And
Yeah,
what I've experienced is,
it's a really good challenge.
yeah, what I've experienced with people is yeah, some of them, obviously not everybody reacts the same. They get very taken aback of, oh,
Yeah,
but I'm a mother. That's core of who I am. And I said, well, that is one of your facets, but that doesn't describe all of you. So that's why
yeah,
I take away some of these overused elements that we use to introduce ourselves, because it's just like, okay, but what are you outside of this? Because before you became a mother, you were still yourself. So those
that's
kind
a
of,
really good point.
it's
Yeah, it's funny
quite,
when you mention that when you set it up because I was kind of thinking, oh well, I've got a niece who's like a very important part of my life, and but then yeah, it's a really good challenge actually, and it's kind of fun to remember who you are outside of your roles and
mm,
responsibilities for sure.
absolutely, absolutely. And this is something that I've actually learned in my recent training and things like that, because one of our teachers at the college where I followed the graduate scheme for becoming a hypnotherapist, um, is also an avid, I don't know if I'm using the right word, yogi,
Hmm.
as in he's very much into the whole yoga philosophy. He's not
Yeah.
necessarily practicing.
Okay.
He's not practicing the yoga in that sense of being a professional, a teacher, but he is very interested, and he takes a lot of inspiration from the philosophy of yoga
Mm,
and what it means to be. And he
mm,
always challenged us in the sense that at your core, you just are. That's it.
absolutely.
It's not like you are X or Y or Z, or you are your feelings,
Yeah.
or you are your relationship. You just are. You just exist.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I like that idea. It's a really good point.
So
It's a really, really good point.
that sparked this
Um,
question. But yeah, I'm all out of questions.
Amazing. I really enjoyed this episode. This was really fun. I'm glad we decided to do this.
Yes, me too. So thank you, Meera, for being so accommodating and for
Pleasure.
sharing
Thank you.
your life story with us. I'm sure we will learn more as we go along with this podcast. For now, I will hug you and leave you, all of you listeners, and you, Meera, and I
I'm
will
hugging you all virtually.
thank and I will see you and hear you on our next episode.
Yeah. So, any questions, guys, just let us know. Give us a follow on whatever platform it is that you're using. Got to do a short plug at the end. And yeah, DM us, use our email. We'll put it all up for you just in case you want to ask us any questions.
Bye.
Bye.